Okay, so the LeBlanc update is on the PBE now, I believe is where it is, and good old Skin Spotlights, whose name we all give praise to. Everyone who works in League of Legends content creation needs to thank Skin Spotlights many times over, but it's out now. And there are some comparisons available between LeBlanc's old and new version, and so I thought let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at it and chat a little bit about LeBlanc, because what an interesting turn for the character. The way that she has been transformed over time from some rather interesting beginnings. So LeBlanc very much began. Well, I mean, she began as what you see there on the screen, right? Like, she's this rather stereotypical, highly sexualized, like, with the titties out, like, the cleavage, and the ridiculous, whatever, this rubber swimsuit thing going on, and the big cape, and, like, stuff like that. And the basics of her original character design, more or less, are drawn from stage magic, right? Like, it's basically, that has, to me, has always been kind of the idea of LeBlanc, is that she's like a glamorous magician on stage who's misdirecting you, and then she sends her, like, mirage off somewhere else to do something else while you're distracted by the flash. So part of the point of the character design here, part of the reason why it looks so silly and ridiculous was, well, it was kind of supposed to be the idea, right? Like, that she intentionally dresses very flash and very eye-catching and very, like extravagant and ridiculous in order to draw attention, such that she can do her mirror image thing and swap around and kill you from behind, right? That was sort of the character design idea. For my money, it never really worked, and part of the reason why it never really worked is that her mirror image just looked like her. Also, like, if the idea of this LeBlanc is that this is like a false projected image, like an illusion that she's using to mess with you, then in my mind, at least, like, the character design ought to include a version of hers, like, that's actually what she really looks like, right? Like, if this is a false projection, then there must be a reality underneath, and showing that to the player sometimes, like, for example, when she goes invisible with her mirror image thing, that model should have been different and should have been like a more reasonable outfit to sort of showcase the difference that this is a projected image. So, like, the idea was solid. I thought the idea is was okay for what it is, like, playing with the idea of, like, using this hypersexualization towards a purpose. The execution, though, I was never quite so bullish on it. And then, of course, over time, LeBlanc, like, as the game itself evolved, LeBlanc comes from an era of League of Legends where it really was very much just like, oh yeah, here's a bunch of fantasy-esque archetypes from a bunch of, let's just throw them at, like, it was every fantasy trope you've ever heard of Smash Brothers once upon a time, right? Like, it's just, let's bash these things together in a combat arena, and we don't really think about that deeply about, like, what the world building might be like for who this character is. But then, of course, over time, Noxus especially starts to get built out a lot, because Noxus is one of Riot's favorite children, right? And with that, LeBlanc herself also begins to become a more complex character, like a character who has more going on than just being this ridiculous-looking stage magician running around on Summoner's Rift in an outfit that doesn't make any goddamn sense. And she starts to be much more conceptualized as sort of a combination mob boss and Illuminati overlord. And at that point, this design sort of stops making a lot of sense, right? Like, this doesn't really feel like, if the storytelling you want to do is that this is a combination, like, leader of the Illuminati, ageless mage who has existed basically forever, like, the greatest schemer on the face of Runeterra, and, like, someone who's, like, in control of everything and who's everywhere and sees everyone. This character design doesn't really do that storytelling, especially not in the modern context of Noxus, which is a very different place aesthetically than it was once upon a time. Like, modern Noxus with all that stark black iron and red and all that, like, that's, again, not really what you're getting from that version of LeBlanc, right? So the need for the update makes sense, right? Like, the idea of we need to change the update to make a lot more sense with a modern state of Noxus, a modern state of who the character is, that all makes perfect sense to me. For me, the thing that I sort of gravitate towards and fixate on then is, okay, if, like, this character has changed so fundamentally that her character design needs to change so fundamentally, but then there is the hangers-on, the vestiges, right? Then there is all the stuff, like the elements of the original LeBlanc that we just can't leave behind because these things are key to her, like, silhouette. They're key to how players identify her. They feel very important to her character design, especially in the context of her gameplay. For example, the staff, right? What does LeBlanc need a staff for? Like, how does that tie into who her character is, what her powers are, where she comes from, how she does what she does? What's the staff's role in that exactly? Like, back then, again, she was a stage magician, right? Like, this is the equivalent of a magician having their big flashy magic wand that they wave around, right? It sort of made sense as an ostentatious, loud, very sort of obvious, like, power thing in her hands here. But then in the new one, if she's supposed to be a much more subtle, much more manipulative, much more low-key, like, sort of behind-the-scenes dominating power character, what use then the staff, right? Like, why is the staff there as such a prominent, ostentatious, attention-grabbing element? That's, to me, that's a little bit like, it's not that it's a huge problem. Like, it's not gonna, oh, she couldn't possibly have a staff, just that doesn't feel as natural a part of the character design of LeBlanc in her new incarnation as it perhaps did with the old stage magician version, right? The staff here for LeBlanc feels like and you can kind of see the aesthetic of the staff has also been toned down a lot, right? Like, now the staff is made with the aesthetic of Noxus very, very specifically built into it. And so here in her character design, I think it serves that purpose. Like, this is a thing that very, very, like, with this stark, like, black iron shape language here and the rose embedded in the sigil that floats above it, this staff sort of does the work of, like, really heavily connecting her to Noxus aesthetics, right? In a way that her color scheme also does, but, like, this is the one that just says, like, black rose, Noxus is right there. We're putting it on the design so that it's the most obvious it can possibly be. But it remains an element that, for me, like, if you wanted to do the storytelling of, like, the most subtle, the most intricate, the most, like, unreliable deceiver, shapeshifter, behind the scenes pulling all the strings kind of character, the big ostentatious staff to me feels a little bit loud for that. And similarly, the cape, right? The cape is another holdover from old LeBlanc. Old LeBlanc has always had this huge cape collar as a part of her character design. The cape has always been a part of her silhouette, and so in the new character design, because they kind of have to hold on to the gameplay silhouette, is, I think, for, like, that's a big part of the reason. And because the cape has always kind of been a part of how people understand what LeBlanc is visually, the cape is here too, being big and loud and huge and, like, wrapping around her shoulders and really bulking up her silhouette. Again, in a way that feels very loud and ostentatious, right? Like, that feels very, hey, look at me, I'm over here, whoa, look at me, like, flash and attention grabbing. Maybe not quite as much as the old one, but it's still there. What I think they've been trying to do with it is, like, by adding all of this sort of torn fragmentation and this, like, uneven shape, like, there's a little bit of a rose petal in there, right? Like, it looks a little bit like the open petal of single petal of a rose sort of curling around her neck. And also in the splash art, which I have here somewhere, that's the old one. There, in the splash art also, they connected into this idea of mirrors, right? Like shattered mirrors, which is very much LeBlanc's thing, right? Like this thing of having multiple faces, being everywhere, being everyone, being able to possess people, that kind of vibe. They're sort of connecting it into sort of this shattered mirror thing, right, with her, that she's literally carrying a mirror around with her everywhere she goes. I think that's a cool idea. It's just, again, it feels loud, right? Like, it feels like a lot. And possibly kind of a lot more than what the character really needs. But that's sort of, and I'm not really saying that as to slag off the character and to say that it's bad, just like, these are some of the trade-offs that come with trying to update a character who has a look, right? Like, who has a way that she's supposed to look, that, like, a lot of people expect her to look this way. They expect these elements to be a part of her character design. And so, when making the new LeBlanc, even though from a pure design perspective, it would probably be smarter to like completely remake her character design from the ground up without being held back or stuck on, oh, this is what the character used to be, therefore she must always kind of be that. I feel like that, like, from a design perspective, it would have been better to, like, completely strip her down to the absolute nothing and build her up from first principles, but with a game like League of Legends, where there's so much expectation in the canon, where there's so many players who have such a relationship to this character, and, like, will be very hostile to massive changes, this is the sort of compromise, right? Like, this is the trade-off that League of Legends character design often makes, especially given that the times in the past when League of Legends has tried to tear down a character completely and build them up from scratch in the name of, like, artistic integrity, it has not always gone well for them, right? Like, yeah, I think of Trundle, I think of Galio, like characters who had new incarnations that essentially completely replaced the old ones, which left a lot of players, like, upset. And, like, to this day, you'll still find people who wax nostalgic about old Trundle, about old Galio. It's like, oh, the characters back then, like, there was so much more, like, there was something real and something was lost there. And I don't disagree that something was lost. It's just that artistic perspective of, like, if you want to design this character to look like a specific expression of her own specific story, being tied in this way to aesthetics that were built for a very different kind of character, for a stage magician rather than an Illuminati backstage string puller. I think, like, it introduces weaknesses. Like, it introduces points of incoherence into the character design, I think. Not massive ones, not character-breaking ones, not anything that's like, oh, this is a failure and the Riot has failed. None of that, like, extreme, like, sort of clickbaity, headline-grabbing nonsense. Just, it's an element of the character design. I do, like, for all that, I think the cape is another one of those things that's, like, feels more like an obligation to the old character design than something that's core to the new one. I do adore the shape language of this swoop. Like, look at that. Like, the swoop of this thing, just as a shape, as just a thing, like, with the little curl from, like, goes from up high and then, like, down, becomes this swoop that just barely obscures her face a little bit from certain angles. It's like, as a shape, this thing is freaking gorgeous, right? As an element that also, like the positive of the cape is, especially with the way they've rendered it now, right? Like, the old cape was just kind of this thing that was attached to LeBlanc's back, right? The collar was sort of the main thing about it, but the cape itself, not really a prominent part of her character design. What they've done here by having the cape being this floating thing that hovers in the air behind her, and, like, really, like, I'm pointing at my own screen right now, which doesn't make any sense to you, that, like, really bulks up her silhouette like that, like, that gives her that added weight and strength. It does work very well as a visual signifier of power, right? Like, it's very regal, it's very, like, because it's floating behind her by force of her magic, you get that sense of, like, okay, this is a sorcerer who, like, knows what the fuck she's doing, who has this powerful magical artifact, maybe, or this ability to cause things to hover just by sheer force of her sorceress power or whatever. Like, that, I think, works really well. And again, like, the shape of the curl of that collar is just genuinely gorgeous. Like, just as a bit of shape design, it's really, really cool. So, like, yes, it's like, I would have questioned whether she needs the cape at all. I might have removed it. I might have, like, I wish Riot had the freedom to really dig down and do these complete deconstructions and reconstructions from scratch. But if you have to do a character design where you do have to respect the old character, like, where you do have to incorporate these elements whether or not they quite work with the new one, this is like the cape is especially well executed from the perspective of, like, well, we have to, right? We gotta. Something, though, that I'm interested to see that they didn't respect, that they didn't keep, is the other very, like, powerful part of LeBlanc's silhouette, which is the enormous fucking crown on her head, right? Like, this V-shaped giant pair of, like, weird horns that she's got attached to her head, which feels a lot like it should, like, crack her neck backwards and maybe kill her if she moves too suddenly. That has been scaled down a lot. Like, it's still present, you still get a little bit of that, like, forehead decoration thing going on, but this is like, okay, it's like, This is looking at this thing and going, okay, maybe chill out on that a little bit. Let's tone that down a notch to something that looks like it makes sense, and it becomes more of a coronet. Like, the subtlety here I really quite like with this thing, because like this as a little crown or as a little tiara, like whatever the hell it is, at the peak of her brow there, or her forehead, this to me feels more regal. This feels genuinely more powerful. This feels more intimidating than this giant cartoon-ass nonsense thing, right? Like, because this thing just looks silly. This just looks kind of ridiculous. This doesn't look cool. This doesn't look intimidating or scary. It doesn't look like a signifier of power. It just looks like a big, ostentatious... And again, that makes sense in the context of her old character design. But here, like, this feels like, oh, no, shit, this is like a symbol of power, right? Like, this is like... a coronet. This is like a little thing that means, like, I am in charge of some fucking shit. I'm a ruler. I control some stuff. And I do like the little gold chain that runs down from it as a little element also. Like, that little bit of asymmetry I find quite appealing. So, another element, her sexualization, right? Like, LeBlanc... Again, in the old character design, the point of it was that this was supposed to be way the fuck too much, right? This was supposed to be way over the top. This was supposed to make no sense. Like, which is, like, not to say that you can't criticize it for being sexualized, because there's a reason for it, but it did have a purpose, right? Like, it was built into the character design that this is supposed to be, like, way the fuck out there. New LeBlanc, again, the sexualization to me, in many ways, feels... less like an element that's core to this character or necessary to her, and more like a holdover, right? Like, old LeBlanc was like the titty babe with like the deep cleavage and the boobies out, so therefore also on New LeBlanc, right? Like, she also gotta have that on the new one because of that's what she used to look like. Again, I kind of question the utility of that here, especially because, like, New LeBlanc, the way that she's conceptualized, the way that she's constructed and put together, I don't get the sense that that's how she operates. Like, I don't get the sense that, like here, yes, like, this is, if you're staring at her boobies, her mirror image has time to, like, run away, run around to your back, chain you up, and, like blast you to pieces with a bunch of magic, right? Like, if you want to make the argument of, like, oh, it's a distraction technique to, like, put her opponents off of their balance... Okay, sure. Like, with this iteration of the character, we can kind of say that that makes sense, because that does seem to be textually part of how the character operates. Not so much with this LeBlanc, right? Like, this LeBlanc doesn't meet anyone in person, right? Like, that's not, like, even in Arcane, she's like a shadow figure in a mirror realm somewhere off in some like, she doesn't meet anyone in person. Like Vladimir gets to meet her in person because they've known each other for like 500 years. She's not someone who goes out in front and fights. She doesn't need to distract anyone. Like, LeBlanc doesn't take a personal meeting with you in order to do anything. She doesn't need to. She has people everywhere. She has eyes and ears everywhere. She has servants everywhere. She doesn't need to take a personal hand, right? Like, so this idea that she would personally need to be sexy as a distraction, that doesn't really exist, I think, for this iteration of the character. So then why is it here? Like, what is this doing for the character? It's appealing. It looks good. Like, don't get me wrong. New LeBlanc, hello. Ma'am, madam. Like, oh boy. This appeals to me specifically. I find this very, very attractive. But does it serve the character's character design? I don't know that I think it does. Remember also, this is an initial reaction to the character. This is not like a full review. Maybe if I did like a long video essay full review of the character, I'd feel differently. But on the face of it, the way that she's constructed, the huge deep cleavage thing, I don't think it really does anything for this iteration of her. Like, I don't think it adds anything. It doesn't take anything away. Like, it's not a negative attribute either. It's just a thing that's there and doesn't really add anything. It doesn't really... I don't think it builds out any sense of the character's personality. I think it feels a little contradictory to her personality as it has been presented so far in what story and lore we have available. It doesn't feel like LeBlanc is the kind of, like, sexy, sultry, playful, seductive that doesn't really feel like it's part of her personality. Like, not in the sense, like, if she ever felt like she needed to do that in order to get someone over on someone, if she felt like she could seduce Swain into doing her bidding, I'm sure she would. I'm sure she could put on this performance, but it would be performance, right? Like, for this LeBlanc, it's like, yes, I can put on the performance if I have to. I've been alive for, like 1,000 fucking years. Of course I know how to do that. But I don't get the sense that this is something that's, like... I don't think she's someone who takes, like, perverse pleasure in using her sexuality to fuck with people, right? I don't get a sense that this is something that for her is personally meaningful or interesting or fun. If she were to do that, it would be purely utilitarian, right? Like, this is like, oh, I need to make someone horny for me in order to get something out of it. Okay, cool. Bring me my lowest cut dress, right? Like, absolutely. But that's not the character we see on Summoner's Rift, right? Like, we don't see a version of her who's, like, pretending to be sexy in order to, like, throw someone off their game. On Summoner's Rift, we see her in combat mode, right? Like, this is what she would look like if she ever had to go to war. And if she ever had to go to war and fight, I don't think she would run the I'm gonna try and distract them with my titties gambit. This one would. On that one, it works. I don't think that one does. I don't think that one would think that is like a viable strategy on the battlefield in the same way. And so again, I question, what is it really doing here? Like, what's it actually doing? Because from a design perspective, the most I can see that it's really doing is it's breaking up the shape of her dress, right? The dress that she has is fairly unadorned. It's very simple. Like, there's not a lot of detailing going on it. And so if the dress was didn't have this, like, V-shaped cleavage down the middle to sort of create a little bit of shape contrast and some interesting, an interesting little, what's the word I'm looking for? If it didn't have this thing to create some visual interest, right, some variety, then it would just be a fairly dull green flat shape, like with like flat color surface with nothing really breaking it up or introducing variety into it. I can kind of see that the deep cleavage helps with that a little bit. But on the other hand, you could do that with any number of things. It doesn't have to be cleavage, right? Like, she's already operating with this huge arrangement of, like, jewelry, gold stuff on her front. And it's like, you could just extend that. Like, you could just, like, you could give her a belt. You could do anything in order to make her midriff and, like, this area of her dress more interesting. I don't think the cleavage, like, it works for what it's supposed to do, but I don't think it's, like, necessarily the best solution, and I don't think it's the one that suits her character the best, at least not as the character has been presented. Like, honestly, if LeBlanc was going into war, I would expect her to be wearing a lot more powerful, like, magical artifacts of various kinds. Like, that's sort of how I think about whatever the hell it is she's got wrapped around her legs here, right? That this thread, that these little dagger things, that along with, like, her bracelets, along with the thing across her chest, that all feels like this is something that does something, right? Like, this is some enchanted artifact, this is something that has some kind of function or magic or power to it that helps her in some tangible, practical way, besides looking cool, like, besides looking good. And I feel like you could have done that across the midriff rather than the deep cleavage, right? Again, LeBlanc with this deep cleavage, this, like mature-looking fucking regal-ass powerful woman with a deep cleavage like that, laser focused to appeal to me specifically, right? This right here is my specific shit, right? Is I'm having a great time looking at it, very much enjoying myself, but does it serve the character? I'm not really so sure about that. Okay, let's move on to have a look at her skins now, starting with Wicked LeBlanc, who has had, I'd say, a pretty freaking significant glow up here, actually. Yeah, goddamn, that's way the hell better. Well, I could nitpick. So she's Cruella de Vil, right? Like, it's Wicked. It's just Cruella de Vil. It has always been just Cruella de Vil. Like, legally distinct. Disney, please don't sue. But it is Cruella de Vil. It's always been Cruella de Vil. That's what the skin is. That's what the skin is about, right? And that's, like, no secret is made of that in the new splash art either, where it's like, oh, she's made a coat of poros. Oh no, the most dastardly, horrible thing you could possibly do. But that's what this is, right? Like, and there's therefore this, like, how do you assess the quality of the character design on this skin? Well, it's a Cruella de Vil riff, so how much does it look like Cruella de Vil and remind you of her? And it's like, honestly, on that front, like, which one of these skins as presented reminds me the most of Cruella de Vil? I'd say it's the one on the right. It is campier, right? Like, I think a big element of Cruella de Vil as a character is camp, right? Like, is stuff that's too loud, too out there, too big, too silly. And I think the hairstyle on the old one, the big, puffy, sort of Karen cut thing, I think that actually kind of captures it better. The trouble with the new Wicked LeBlanc is that she actually looks good, right? It's like she's actually she's kind of serving a fit, right? Like, she's actually, like, there's actually something going on here. Whereas the old one just kind of looks a little bit terrible, right? Like, she's got these ill-advised black and white divided hair and, like, this huge fur collar on her coat and the staff and, like, whatever the hell is going on with those. Like it's silly. It's over the top. It's kind of ugly in a way that I feel suits an over-the-top campy movie villain, right? Especially, like, children's movie villain. Whereas this is, like, she just kind of looks like she's wearing a cool outfit. Also, this is a small thing, but you see how the color tone in her hair has gone from black to green? Which, like, okay, I get it. It's because, like, she has the red and green color scheme that still sort of, like reflects Noxus a little bit. Which, okay, fine, I suppose, but, like, it's a Cruella de Vil skin. It has to be black and white. You can't make it green and white. Like, come on, Riot. Like, honestly. So, like, in the way of, like, we want this to look like a big, campy parody of, like, a Disney cartoon villain, I think the old one takes it. Where the new one takes it is that it just looks way better. It looks way better. It preserves the silhouette much nicer by actually, like, keeping the cloak on her. The big cloak, I think, also does do a better job of, like, evoking the whole, like, Cruella de Vil as a character, as a villain, is someone who's obsessed with a big, giant coat of fur. So this, like, is a much better, like, that works much better to give that aspect than on the old one where it's just a sort of puffy fur collar around her neck. Here it's like, oh, no, this is like a coat. This is like a whole goddamn thing. That works better. And I must admit, the mirror, the cracked mirror on the staff, is like, that's a little bit more the wicked stepmother from Snow White, of course, but I do like it. Like, as an element of, like, this is about vanity, this is about self-perception, but it's a cracked mirror because she's also crazy, or whatever it may be. Like, she's also unstable, or whatever it may be. As an element of designing for that, I think that works better. Now, actually, come to think of it, I don't know if the skins have had new skin bios written for them, so let me just go and check that. Yeah, no, because old Wicked LeBlanc did not have a skin bio, I don't believe. And I don't think the skins have had new bios written for them either. And certainly Wicked LeBlanc hasn't. So that all we know about the character is what's presented on screen. So, like, I don't know if this is supposed to be, like, certainly from the splash art, I get sort of the sense that this version of LeBlanc, like, has something going on with mirrors and images, and maybe there's supposed to be more to her than just turning poros into a big fur coat. I don't know. I have a sense that that could be the case, but who knows? Without a skin bio to sort of go off of, I have no idea how to prove that that's true. But yeah, I just changed the green color tone to black, right? Make it black and white. Like, actually, like, none of that. Get rid of the green. I know red and green is supposed to be the Noxus thing, but she doesn't have to have Noxus stuff. She has to be Cruella de Vil. You can have red and black and white. Like, those three contrasts together look brilliant always. So, like, the green tone is starting to annoy me more and more and more, actually. Make it black and white. Like, come on. Yeah, no, like, the green is actually bad. It's actually bad. I really don't like the green. I don't like how even the pants have a green tone to them. No, she doesn't need to have a Noxus color scheme. Make the color scheme fit the skin. I do like the hair piece, though. I like that the hair is put up in this, like, elaborate bun with the thing. That's pretty cool. I like the silhouette on the new one as well. Like, I think this, especially with the coat, the silhouette looks much more imposing. It looks bigger. It looks more powerful. It looks more intimidating. She looks more like a powerful villain rather than just a kind of campy one. So on that front, I think new one takes it. Let's see, Prestigious. This is the one that sort of like I said, LeBlanc originally was designed to be a kind of stage magician, but she was very much designed in the vein of the stage magician's glamorous assistant, right? Like, that was sort of more where her costuming was coming from, because stereotypically Vegas magicians, they'll have girls in skimpy outfits on stage to draw attention from the audience to help them do their sleight of hand and stuff, right? Like that, right? Prestigious LeBlanc was sort of supposed to be, but what if instead of being the glamorous assistant, she was the magician? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But then also, you still dress her up in garter belts and panties and, like, cleavage down to like, here. So it was sort of... It was a skin that was sort of defeating its own purpose because it just inherited so much of the glamorous assistant sexualization from the old ones, that rather than looking like a stage magician, she looks like a burlesque dancer dressing as a stage magician, which is cool. I like burlesque dancers, but it sort of defeats the purpose of the skin, I think. I definitely give the advantage to the new one on that one because it takes much more of I think Satana from DC Comics, kind of. Like, there's still that little element of being sexy with the fishnets and showing a little bit of thigh and stuff like that, but it's not quite as in your face about it, right? Like, there's an element of being sexy as part of, like, being cool on stage or whatever, but it's not like, hey, titties, thighs, garter belts, panties. Like, it's not as wildly in your face about it. It's a little bit more classy, I guess, in that sense, and I think that does work better. Also, again, huge advantage on the cloak. Like, as a piece of clothing, like, for a magician to have, a giant red-lined black and gold cloak over your shoulders is, like, that's a good prop for like a stage magician. Whereas on the old version, again, they get rid of the cloak and just give her the collar, which, is like, like, especially on a stage magician, I feel like the cloak makes sense, right? Especially on an old-timey stage magician with, like, the top hat and the coat and tails and all of that. Like, the cloak, that makes a lot of sense for that kind of character. I do like the playing card motif on the staff as well. Even if, like, this feels more like they should kind of have just made it a magic wand, right? Like, you can see it's there with, like, the white tip on one end and then this thing. But this looks like a cane that's just too big. This looks like an oversized walking cane. I feel like if this had been just transformed fully into a long magic wand, that would be a little campy, that would be a little silly, but I guess they wanted to keep the motif of, like, having the head of the staff with something floating over top of it kind of thing, which, okay, fine. This should read more strongly as a magic wand rather than a cane, I think. Just because this is kind of a campy, silly, cartoony skin. Not terrible. And again, like, in terms of quality, the new one absolutely 100% takes it. It knows what it's doing a lot more than the old one does, but the magic wand should be a magic wand, man. Like, surely. Ah, well. Let's see, Mistletoe LeBlanc. Now, so, female League of Legends champions, especially in ye olden times, had a lot of what I term stripper skins. And I don't say that to denigrate strippers. Like, they put a lot of time and effort into their costuming and into the way that they present themselves, and that's cool. But, like, in terms of character design, the point of a sexy skin like this is first and foremost just to be hot and sexy, and that sort of overrides all other considerations, and that means that, like, as a piece of storytelling, these skins are kind of weak. They don't really present a character. It's just like, here's a costume that's sexy because you can be horny about it. And that's, from a design perspective, not always that interesting, right? And Mistletoe LeBlanc has always been kind of a weird one. In that sense, because it's sort of stuck between two worlds. On the one hand, the old skin here, on the one hand, it wants to be a sexy, hot-ass, like, a Santa baby stripper Christmas skin, right? Super sexy and all of that. But then on the other hand, it also has these oddly incongruous elements, right? Like where there's this opportunity to go harder on being hot and horny and sexy, and they just kind of retract from that, right? Like with the long boots, for example, with the fur lining, is like, oh, those are like, I don't know, man. Like when I'm thinking of sexy boots, this is not exactly what comes to mind. Like they look weirdly, almost sort of half practical in a strange way. The big fur-lined cloak as well it just kind of looks too warm and too much like something you might actually wear in cold weather, rather than something that's like skimpy and kind of sexy and seductive, or like which is sort of playing with the aesthetics of cold weather gear in order to sort of play up a type. And then there's the hair, which is weirdly flat and kind of just kind of stuck to the side of her head and looks like it's wet. Like it looks like she's been out in the snow and her hair has gotten wet and it's just kind of plastered to the side of her face. Where if this was like supposed to be like a stripper skin, which it was supposed to be like, this is a very sexy, seductive, like precious costume, is like, okay, but then wouldn't you want to do something with your hair then? Like if you're dressing up to look hot and sexy in order to be appealing, wouldn't you do something with your hair rather than just have it like just kind of flatly laying limp and dead on your head like that, in a way that like rather obscures her face. It doesn't really frame her face. It doesn't highlight her makeup or make her look prettier. It just kind of looks wet and flat and kind of boring. And she has this like question. What the hell is that in English? Question. This thing. The whatever that is called in English. She has that in her hair, but it's not really. It doesn't look elaborate or staged or precious enough to be sexy, right? It doesn't look fancy enough. It looks really kind of lame and lazy in a way that doesn't really fit with the idea if she's really dressing up to be as sexy and hot and horny as possible. Because, like, fan service skins are fine. You can have a fan service skin or two. That's not really a problem. It's just, if you're going to do that, then make a fucking effort, all right? Don't just, sexy tits, thighs, okay. We're done. We don't have to. No, give her a nice hairstyle as well. Do something cute with her makeup. Like put some more thought into it. Like put some more effort into this. Like just having tits and thighs isn't enough. We deserve a better class of pandering from like $1 billion company. Like you can hire some people who know something about this shit. That's the disjointedness, right? Like on the one hand, it wants to be a hot, horny, sexy stripper skin, and then on the other hand, it's just not putting in enough effort to actually be hot and horny and sexy. And I've never liked Mistletoe. The new one definitely has better costuming, right? Like it has better costuming. I'm also still not entirely sure what it's trying to do, right? It is just kind of LeBlanc with a vague Christmas aesthetic applied to her. But like, what in the context of Christmas is she trying to be here? Right? Like what's the Christmas character? What's the element of Christmas that's being played with here, right? Like what are we supposed to take from this in terms of like, oh, it's a Christmas theme, what exactly? It's not an evening dress like she's going to a fancy dinner party. That doesn't really look like what this is. It doesn't look like cold weather gear, like she's actually out in the cold and the snow, leading people with her lantern or whatever. But it's also not that sexy, right? Like, so it's also not a Santa baby, like, hot, horny, sexy, Christmas-themed, like, whatever. It's also not that. And she's not being Mrs. Santa Claus. She's not being an elf. She's not being... I don't know, whatever. Like, she's not even being one of the Nordic Christmas characters. Like, she's not being a Nissa, or a troll, or any of... Like, I don't know what part of Christmas tradition she's supposed to reflect here. What kind of Christmas anything I'm supposed to take from it. It is just kind of LeBlanc in vaguely Christmas-themed gear, but there's no concept here. It's just, what if LeBlanc in Christmas costume? What kind of Christmas costume? Red and white and this fur on it. Like, where if she's Mistletoe LeBlanc, right? Like, if the idea if she's Mistletoe LeBlanc, it's like, okay, there's a little bit of Cupid there, maybe. There's some flirtiness. There's some, like, she's setting up situations in which people can sort of romantically connect with each other. Maybe there's something there about, like, making her a mischievous spirit of Christmas love or whatever. At least I would kind of, like, the lamp, I guess she has the lamp on the old one, so they put the lamp on the new one. But if she's supposed to be Mistletoe LeBlanc, surely you'd give her a staff with, like, a hanging sprig of mistletoe, under which someone could be like, oh, look, mistletoe, we have to kiss. Like, surely you'd give her the staff with the mistletoe on it. Like, it is there. Like, there's a sprig of mistletoe just hanging there, right? Il a de question. I don't know. Like, there's that thing there, but then there's the lamp, and it's like, shouldn't that be mistletoe? Like, if that's the whole name, if the whole skin is supposed to be based around the idea of kissing under the mistletoe, or that's the thing we're sort of playing with, shouldn't that be the thing that it is then? Shouldn't that be what the skin is about, rather than having this fur-lined Christmas cloak? Like, then make her plant-themed, right? Like, make her themed around the evergreen plants of Christmas or whatever, if that's what you're going for. Like, commit to some kind of concept with an idea behind it, rather than just a LeBlanc Christmas costume that looks kind of Christmas-like a little bit. She has Santa's belt for some reason, and it's a dress, but also fur-lined, so because of if she wants to wear it in cold weather, which, why would she want to wear this in cold weather? And a cloak with Christmas fur lining and some mistletoe, a lamp. There's a lamp. We have a lamp on the mistletoe skin. We don't know what it does, but the old one had it, so the new one has to have it too. I don't know, man. Like, this, I like this a lot better than I do this, because this at least looks good, right? Like, this is putting in the effort, right? Like, contrast that with LeBlanc doing fuck all with her hair and wearing boots that aren't even very sexy for the sexy skin. This is at least coherent, right? Like, she's doing something with her hair. The costume looks a lot better. It's definitely a better skin. But I still, there's no idea here. It's not doing anything with Christmas. It's just kind of, there's an aesthetic of Christmas on here. And that's not really enough, I think, for this to be a good skin. It's fine. Like, it's reasonable to say it's just a holiday-themed skin. Who gives a shit, right? Like, it is just a character in Christmas colors. Who cares? But on the other hand, think of Santa Braum. Right, like think of like Elf Tristana, right? Like there are Christmas skins out there that kind of have an idea, right? Like that kind of try to do something fun or interesting, and this is just not one of them. Katarina has another one of those incredibly boring, like sexy kitten Christmas skins, or she used to. She still does, right? Yeah. They didn't change that. And this is just another one of those. And it's like, come on, there was an opportunity here to try something. If she's Mistletoe LeBlanc, go in on that. Like, make something out of it. Make a Christmas plant something. Whatever. But, yeah, fair enough. Whatever. Ravenborn. Okay. This is a sort of evergreen skin for LeBlanc, and they really haven't done very much to it at all, have they? No, like, a few changes to, like, the proportions of it all, but this is, like... This is basically the same skin. Yeah, like converted to the new model, but entirely unchanged. And I mean, that's justified. Ravenborn is a popular skin, and it's always been just baseline good. Again, it's a skin where I don't know that I see much of a character here. I don't know that I see much of a strong idea here. It's just LeBlanc in vaguely gothic outfit. But it's a good-looking one. Like, I like the color scheme. I always have on Ravenborn. Because it's so dour, it's so downplayed. It's like, it's conforming to a type, evil queen aesthetic kind of thing. It's not a great skin. It's not a skin that has a great idea. But it just has a good color scheme. And, like, the fucking crow feathers, or raven feathers, I suppose, along with, like, the black and purple color scheme going on. Again, I don't know what exactly the sexy thigh thing is gonna... what it's supposed to do for this character. Like, what's that supposed to do for the skin? It doesn't seem to be supposed to do anything. It's just there because sexy is appealing. Which, to me, has never been enough. It's never enough. That's not enough to be interesting to me. But nothing wrong with it, as such. It's It's baseline fine, and like the gradient, like if you look at the color gradient on the cloak here, right, on the old one, versus that rich purple transitioning into an almost glowing blue, and then back out again, like that gradient transition right there, and like the way it handles the color temperatures and like the values of the light and the shadow between the two skins, this is just like a straight up improvement and craft, even if they haven't really changed the character design any. So like, good update on that one, I think. Let's see, Elderwood. This is one of the ones where the splash art barely changed, and yeah, like again, much like with Ravenborn, not really a change in design so much as just we converted it to the new model, right? Although I never noticed this about Elderwood LeBlanc. She has like thick ass thunder thighs a little bit, like not really, but you look at how thick her legs are relative to like the long slender ones on the new model, and it's like, oh, okay, that's actually, that does change the profile of a character. Like that makes her more full-figured hourglass, a little bit thicker in her profile, like not actually chubby or anything like that, but a little bit thicker in profile. I kind of like that. They should have kept that. I feel like that would have been a unique thing for this skin to have. Like, if it has, like, that thicker, more hourglass shape, slightly more, I guess, Pixar mom proportion with, like, a bottom-heavy thing going on. That would be a unique thing for this skin to have. They could have kept that. They could have ported that over to make her a little thicker in that way. I don't think that would have taken anything away from it. Particularly, they have seemed to tone down the sexualization a little bit between the two of them. Not much, but maybe a little tiny bit, which, like, I don't mind that. I don't think that's a problem. It's just, it feels like maybe the hotness, like the being a sort of sexy nature sprite thing, was that kind of part of the point of the first one, and then this one has kind of gone off in another direction? It's hard to tell, honestly. I do like the profile on her face. Like, I like the old one, it has an okay thing going on with, like, the horns and, like, the whatever these tendrils are. I like the new one a lot better. The way that it handles the shape language of that. Like, because you see here, like, it kind of goes out to the side and then up. It's, like, very broad, and it doesn't really converge in the way, like, this does. Like, you see the way all these shapes kind of converge downwards and give, like, her face gets this very sharp, pointed aspect from this. Here, the shape is very wide, right? Like, it's very big and broad. This feels much more like everything is converging into a point. Like, all of these lines are leading you to her face in a way that they kind of aren't on the old one. And that's actually really strong. Like, that's some really strong silhouette work. You can create some really appealing poses with this kind of thing attached to her head. So, like, that's definitely better. I like the way that leads, especially like the way that this leads into the bridge of her nose. That gives her like a really strong looking profile. I guess that's kind of the point. Like, they wanted to go from sort of sexy matriarch of the forest to more of a powerful matriarch of the forest kind of vibe, I guess. Which works. Like, it definitely works. Although, like, if the idea is that she's primarily supposed to be intimidating and powerful, they probably could have toned down the sexualization more, because it's not really giving that so much. Like, there would be I feel like there's an opportunity there to use, like, some tree shapes and plant shapes to create, like, some sharpness and some angular edges, like with flower petals and stuff on her body that sort of gives her more of an aggressive aspect, or more of a warlike or dangerous aspect, rather than the cleavage thing, which is just sort of inherited from the old one. Again, maybe if they had thought a little bit more from first principles about, like, build this up, like, don't import anything from the old design. Think of, like, what do we want this new Elderwood LeBlanc to be? Like, because it seems like they're going for more regal, more powerful, like, more sharp, more dangerous, more like Lord of the Forest kind of vibes, rather than Mommy of the Forest. And I feel they could have pushed that harder. Like, they could have gone harder on really, really selling that vibe, rather than just inheriting the titty thing, which, again, it's not a problem. Like, I like it on this one. I like the sort of sexy aspect on the old one. quite a bit, actually. I like that they tried to give her slightly digitigrade legs here. Right? Like, they tried to give her sort of satyr legs on the old one. They've abandoned that on the new one. I feel like that's something you could have ported over. That a little bit of more inhumanity to her. When you already have the satyr horns, like, you might as well give her the satyr legs as well, right? I feel like that could have been ported over and been quite cool as an element of this version of the character. But yeah, decent update. Program now. Yeah, another one where there's really not that much change. Like, a little change in that they swapped this from her, like, right hip to her left hip over here. But really not much of one. Oh, actually a little bit of one. Old program didn't really have much of a face, right? Like, it's just this kind of shadow with a couple of white streaks on it to show her eyes. New one definitely has much more of a defined facial structure and expression to her. Which, like, okay. But outside of that, not really any prominent changes. Some changes to the cloak shape, which you would expect. But this seems like a very one-to-one conversion without really trying to change very much at all about the skin. Some changes in the light values a little bit, but yeah, not much to say about this one. Like, not really a strict upgrade. Oh, hey, Elderwood, yeah. Not really a straight upgrade or downgrade, just side grade, I guess. Much the same thing with IG LeBlanc, is like not that much of a change, just like the posture and the proportions are a little bit different because the model is different now. I will say, again, we have this base model that's kind of curvy with it, and then this updated model which takes away a lot of that curviness and makes her a little bit more sort of sleek and long in the body design, which, like, yeah, sure, okay. I like the posture on the new model, by the way, much better. I don't think I mentioned that. The way that she's posturing in the old model is really weak. Like, this is a very weak posture. There's really, like, she has this, like, crooked arm holding onto the staff, and her legs are just kind of awkwardly planted on the ground. It's not a very strong posture. Compare and contrast that with the power posture that she's got, like, with one leg forward, and, like, that twist in the hip, and the sway, and, like, the staff, like, pushed forward, sort of daintily tilted a little bit, like, with the arm, like, the posturing is just so much fucking better. Anyway, that's not what we were talking about. Much the same, like, really just a side grade rather than an upgrade or a downgrade. Which, you know, that's fine. Let's see, Coven. See, Coven is a legendary, right? So it already had a new model. And, oh, that's a downgrade. Hang the fuck on. Riot? Riot, really? I mean, come the fuck on. So, okay. So Coven LeBlanc has this very exaggerated animation, right? Like, this like leg forward, chest back, like doing like these constant motion. Like, it's a little bit much, right? It's a little bit much. It's a little over the top. It's a little bit more loud and posturing, but it had a lot of personality to it, right? Like, this was Coven LeBlanc, right? Like, this, like, Imperia's witch queen of a coven in the Elderwood universe. And, like, this has some, like, evil queen flair to it, right? This is a little bit theatrical. There's some personality there. And then in the new one, she's just doing her base pose. She doesn't get a new idle animation. Riot, that fucking sucks. Come on. Like, okay, you don't want to keep this like, idle cycle? Fine. If you think it's too much, fine. But, like, you can't downgrade a legendary skin like that. Like, dudes, come the fuck on. I need to see if the rest of the animation set on her also got changed. But, like, look at the fucking personality she's serving here as, like, evil queen of the witches versus this nothing. Like, that idle cycle, right? Like, this very still, very statuesque idle cycle. Okay, she has a little bit of it in, like, the recall is at least kept. But this very still, very statuesque idle animation. that was made for this version of LeBlanc, right? Like, that was made for her base version, where she's supposed to be a schemer, a plotter, someone who's, like, quietly pulling all the strings, who's not showy, who's not, like, ostentatious or theatrical about it. She's just standing there waiting for her plans to happen. That makes sense. But on Coven, like, when she's, like, the evil bitch queen of, like, the forest witches or whatever, when she's supposed to be a fucking Maleficent character, this is so much better. Like, this has so much more charisma than this does. And it's over the top. It's a little bit much. You can tone it down maybe or whatever, but, like, come the fuck on. You can't take that away from it as part of the upgrade. Like, that, no, that sucks. That sucks, Riot. That sucks real bad. That's, if you're gonna take away this unique idle animation, like, okay, if you think, like, this is too much, this doesn't work, like, this isn't, like, this doesn't work with the character, fine. If you're gonna take away the idle animation, but you have to replace it with something. You can't just take the default and slap that on there and say, oh yeah, that's an upgrade, that's better. No, it's not. Fuck off. That sucks. That really sucks. Like, come on. Ah, man, that pisses me off a little bit. The character design, for the most part, seems unchanged, like changes to the staff, but really no changes to the costuming or the cloak very much at all. Like, this, pretty much the same character design, just with less personality for some fucking reason. Jesus. I guess it's going to be the same story with Prestige. Yeah, no surprises there. Well, the Prestige, they do a lot more with the collar on the Prestige, don't they? Like, here, it's just kind of there. Over here, like, the collar on the Prestige is, like, much more of an active part of her character design. I kind of like that. I kind of like that it's sort of enclosing and almost like this jaws that are snapping shut around her neck kind of vibe a little bit. I do like that. But the fact that they took away the custom idle animation, like, fuck off with that, Riot, really. Let's see, World's LeBlanc, another one of the more recent skins, and yeah, not much change, like, better posture, cooler cloak, but no real, like, well, a slight change to the way that the head is proportioned with the thing, but no real change to it. It's a side grade again. Deonire, another one of the more recent skins, and another one I wouldn't expect to see that much change in. And there isn't that much. Like, it's not a huge amount, but I do see that they've done some changes to the collar shape around her neck, which makes sense. It's much more symmetrical on the old one, and here they've gone for much more of an asymmetrical sort of swoop to it, which I think works better. Like, I think that asymmetry works for her. I think that does something relative to the symmetry. Asymmetry implies a level of unpredictability, instability, a willingness to like fuck with conformity, right? Like a willingness to do something a little bit different, to do something unexpected, to be a little bit surprising. And I like that. Like, and it feels more Art Nouveau as well than the old one. Like, with the big swooping lines sort of curving in on each other. It has a little bit more of a fashionable vibe to it. Feels more like it's modeled after like an Art Nouveau stained glass window rather than this thing which just kind of looks like flower petals around her. Which, like, the flower petals are there in the staff, so that's fine, but this looks cooler. I like that better. I think I like the new one's design better on that one. Bewitching. Let's see. Yeah, another one with not that much change. I do like the new staff here a lot better. Even just the little change of how she's holding it. Like, here she's holding it so that the bat wings go perpendicular, right? Like, that they intersect and sort of face outwards towards the person looking from the front. Here, the bat wings are, like, coming back that way. I like this better. This makes the staff, the profile of it, a lot cooler and works a lot better with the rest of the design. But outside of that, really not that much change to speak of, is there? Slightly less texture on the cloak. Here it has more of a batwing texture. Here it has a little bit less of that. They could probably have kept a little bit more of the batwing thing. Oh yeah, no, that's the major difference, is that this one, it's explicitly 2 wings, and on this one, it's a cloak that's vaguely shaped like wings. That is a bit of a difference. I kind of liked it better when it was wings, explicitly, than being a cloak that's just modeled to look like them. That feels more witchy over here than it does there, I think. But not bad. Another mostly side grade, I think. Let's see. Risen LeBlanc, the one that's attached to the fucking $250, like $500, actually, with like the faker bullshit. Which, like, yeah, I mean, no real major changes to that one. Some slight messing around with the collar shape, that makes sense. But you shouldn't buy it. Like, you should not support any part of this fucking project with your money. What a load of shit Riot pulled with that one. I'm still annoyed that they got away with it. Which leads us on to the final one, which is the Paragon Chroma for the same thing. Which, again, much the same story. Nothing really to talk about there. Fine. Let's move on to some splash arts. I really, really, really like in the splash art for the new one, I like the mirror images in the cloak. I wish the cloak in-game had more of this aspect of a shattered mirror. Like, I know there's tech limitations on how many reflections they can incorporate and, like, shit they can do with, like, breaking the cloak up into fragments that have to be animated individually. Like, sure, whatever. It's in the recall animation a little bit, I think, and in some of her other animations, probably. But just the fact that here it's so much more explicitly like a shattered mirror that's been arranged into the shape of a cloak. That is so fucking cool. I really, really, really like that as an element of her character design, that she has a mirror on her at all times. I wish that was more obvious in-game. And, like, there's definitely... This feels like a much more interesting and imposing character than this does, just from the presentation, right? Like, this just feels like anything, right? Like, this could be a mid-boss in a Warcraft dungeon, right? Like, on World of Warcraft. Like, what this... Who is this? Who is this character? Is this, like, a main villain? Is this some kind of sidekick character who is just, like, fucking with you for a bit? Who knows? This is a main villain, right? Like, this is the main villain of the story. This is the one who's pulling the strings. This is the bad bitch who's gonna get ya. This is the villain, right? Like, there's no doubt when you see this version of the character presented like that this is like, oh shit, this is the queen bitch of the Illuminati right here. Like, this is, you don't fuck with this one. I really like this splash art upgrade. That's very good. Kind of the same thing with the Wicked one, right? Like, this is just kind of, yeah, she's in a dungeon because of, like, that's the one thing. This is a Cruella de Vil skin. What the fuck is she doing in, like, a medieval dungeon for whatever reason? Like, how does that relate at all to who the character is? Well, it doesn't, because they didn't have those considerations back when they were making these old splash arts. It's just character in a location, because doing something, right? That was kind of all that was really going on there. The new splash art takes much more of an interest in telling a story about a character, right? You get sort of this sense that she's lured these poros to her parlor with poro snacks, and now she's grabbing the collar of that one and she's, like, eyeing it with, like, this slightly hungry attention, as like, oh, no, she's about to fucking kill that thing. Okay, I get it. There's a story here. I kind of understand what's going on. And then the mysterious figure in the background who's like, hey, hang on. She looks kind of exactly like who that is. What's going on there? Like, this tells much more of a story, right? Like, and you can see even the blueprints for the coat hanging on the wall, or is that blueprints when it's sewing, when it's like clothes making? Is it called something else? Template, I think. But it's hanging there on the wall. Like, I like that. As a piece of storytelling, that's a lot better. Now, the Prestigious LeBlanc, really not much of a change in terms of the splash art, just a change in terms of, like, the presentation of who it is. Mostly just updating it to actually reflect what her costume looks like now. With a little bit, I don't know if you can see that on YouTube, but if you can see a little bit of change in the color tone, there's a blueness that gets added in the new one. That sort of pulls the color tone of the whole piece together a little bit better. But outside of that, just kind of upgrading a little bit so that it fits who the character is now. And, like, what an upgrade, by the way. This is something I guess I should mention. I like LeBlanc's new face infinitely better, because the old face is just generic attractive fantasy girl. Like, a generic attractive fantasy lady face. No distinguishing features. this could be fucking anyone. Like, if you put her in different makeup, it's Zaya. If you put her in different makeup, it's Ari. Like, it's a very, very generic face that really has no personality to speak of. Again, you can kind of justify that because it's a projection, right? Like, she's projecting generic attractive lady as part of her scheme or whatever. You can kind of justify it. This feels a lot more like a face of a specific person. Like, it has some specific features. Like, it has the cheekbones. Not that she's not generically pretty for the most part. Like, with the plucked eyebrows and, like, the well-shaped face and all of that. But when you compare and contrast, like, here, for example, right? This is much more of a specific face than this is, right? You can see how... like, features have literally... Let me see if I can line them up properly. Right? You can see how this face literally has more features to it, right? It has a more specific Cupid's bow over the lip. It has, like, some much more specific cheekbones, right? It has a little bit of texture on the skin, which the old one doesn't. It has, like, a more distinctive eye shape, whereas this is... She's kind of looking off in two different directions here, isn't she? She's a little bit bug-eyed. She looks more mature, she looks older, more experienced. There's much more of a face here. Not to say that this is like a huge, like, that there isn't still some same face syndrome going on in League of Legends, but this is an improvement on that. Like, look, she has a jawline, right? Rather than just, oh, here's a lot of curve that just kind of goes around. No, here's, like, you can see where the jaw attaches to the skull. You can see where the joint is. And there is a chin there as well, right? Like an actual chin with definition, rather than just curvy circle. Which, like, that's nice. It's, like, nice that this feels more like a person rather than just generic hot fantasy girl. So that's cool. Let's see. Elderwood, another one of absolutely minimal change. Really not very much going on here. Just altering the proportions of the face a little bit, which, you know, we've talked about that. Which, again, I think broadly is an improvement. But there's not much going on to say there, really. They're doing some changes around, like, the pelvis area. You can see this one is, like, much more sort of teasing that she's kind of naked and, like, ooh, there's a vagina under there, maybe. Whoa, wouldn't that be something? And here it's a little bit covering it up a little bit more, which, like, I don't know that was necessary as such, but, you know. In the model, I got much more of a sense that they were trying for powerful forest queen versus this one was supposed to be more like sexy forest mommy. I wish they changed the splash art a little bit more to sort of suit that as well. Like, you could change the presentation of the character here a little bit to sort of suit that, I think. But I do appreciate, again, it's the face thing. She has a nose, right? Much more of a, like, there's a little bit of a bump on the nose ridge. There's a little bit more structure and definition to it. It's not like a sort of 15-year-old's nose. This is like the nose of a grown-ass woman. That's a small thing, but it's a small thing that I appreciate. She has more of a chin. It's not huge, but it's something. Let's see. Program. That was another one with fairly minimal changes, I think. Yeah. Mostly... Well, actually, there's one change. Is that really visible on the model as well? I thought it wasn't, but maybe I was wrong and I just wasn't paying attention. Oh yeah, like, they did do that. They did give her the cleavage. I completely missed that when I was looking at it. They did give her the cleavage. Which, again, it's one of those things... It's not a problem. It's not bad that they gave her cleavage. It's more just of a... Why? As I remember, the lore is that this version of LeBlanc is basically sort of GLaDOS, right? Like, she's like evil robot who wants to kill you and do some tests on you because she's an, like, malevolent AI who has escaped. And it's like, okay, why does she need her tits out to do that? Like, what does that add? What does that help? I think her having a fully android robot body with, like, a face projection hovering over it, I think that's kind of a stronger version of that. That's another thing. They gave her a neck for some reason in this splash art, which That's another thing I'm not really clear on why they would do that. Like, what is a neck supposed to add to the character? Right, like, it's... Again, it's not a problem, it's just one of those things is like, why would you add that? Like, what does that do for the character? Because I think, again, if she's supposed to be like an android body that's possessed by this malevolent AI that's piloting it, like, the idea is kind of like that the program is a little bit separate from the body, because she is programmed LeBlanc, right? Like, she's only a piece of software that's possessing like a robot form and doing evil things with it. Why give her a neck? Like, why connect her to her body more? That's weird. That's a little bit odd to me to make that change. And I don't really know what the benefit of it is. And it's the same thing with the cleavage. It's like, okay, but why? What's that supposed to do for her? She's not a seductress. This version of her character is not a seductress. She's not about sexually deceiving or seducing people. She's an evil murder robot who kills people. And the cleavage is there for what, exactly? It doesn't do anything. It's not, again, it's not a problem. It's not an evil thing. It's not like sexism or whatever. It's a little bit sexism, probably, but it doesn't do anything. Like, it doesn't do anything for this version of the character. If you want to do sexy LeBlanc, like, I can think of 10 or 15 extremely cool, very sexy fan service skins for her, where you can give her so much cleavage, like, you can get real fucking horny with it, and that would be cool. But what's it supposed to do here? What is it supposed to add? I really genuinely am coming to dislike the neck. I actually really genuinely dislike that. I think giving her a neck, that really fundamentally alters how the character feels. Now she feels connected to the body. Now she feels like this is a hard light construct that's wearing a robot body, rather than this is an AI that's possessing a robot body. Connecting her to the body like that feels like it undercuts a little bit of the fantasy of the character. And I don't really know what the benefit of it is supposed to be. Like, what's the benefit of connecting her closer to her body? I don't really see that. Yeah, that's a baffling change. I don't know why they would do that. I don't know what that is supposed to add at all. Let's see. Absolutely, basically no changes whatsoever. Like, she's lost her earrings. Or, no, that's not earrings. That's earlobe. She's lost her earlobe or something. What is that supposed to be back there? Is that not supposed to be earlobe? They've taken away her earlobe or moved it, or I guess because the artist felt like it didn't quite fit. Which, like, okay, fair enough, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, all right, like, that's an odd change, but fair enough. But yeah, really no change to the splash art here at all, is there? It's just altering it so that it makes a little bit more sense with who the character is. Weird to me, though, like, they went into the trouble of changing her face here, right? Like, they changed the face of the thing here, but then they didn't change the face of the reflection at all. Which, like, why not? Why didn't you change the face of the reflection as well? That seems like a weird oversight. I guess they just didn't wanna. But okay, like, who cares? Doesn't matter. Much the same story. There's actually a hilarious detail with this one. See if you can spot it. You spotted it, right? You've seen what they've changed besides her face. The hands on the waiter. In the old splash art, the waiter has these tiny little baby hands. Itty bitty, teeny tiny little baby hand on the small of his back. And when they were doing the new version, one of the artists seemed to have noticed that and just kind of grabbed the lasso tool and kind of just, yeah, let's make that a little bigger so that he doesn't have teeny tiny baby hands that are tiny. Fair enough. I mean, it's a good change to make, I guess. But yeah, minimal changes on that one. Then we get to Mistletoe, right? Again, part of the incoherence of Mistletoe, right? Like, is like, we talked about this. Old splash arts are just what if character in environment, right? What environment? Some environment, because she's out there in the cold and the snow, and she's wandering around in her stripper outfit. And it's always like, why is she what's with the lamp? What is any of this supposed to do or be? Who cares? Doesn't matter. The splash artist didn't really think about it. This one definitely has more shit going on, right? Like here she's teleporting through a mirror into someone's apartment to steal presents, I guess, for Christmas, or God only knows what she's gonna do here. I guess plant mistletoe so that people can kiss under the mistletoe. Which, like, again, if mistletoe was supposed to be the whole point of the character, then the mistletoe could have been much more a part of her costuming and her character design. Like, you could have done a lot more with that. But definitely, as a piece of storytelling, as implying that she's part of a world, that she has an agenda, that she's doing something, that there's a reason for her to be somewhere and do something, this is infinitely better than that. Because that's just, there's forest, nighttime, snow? Northern lights in the background because of it's snow. And then the girl with a lamp, also magic, and she's a sexy girl who's hot because of Christmas in the winter time outside. Makes no sense. Here there's an implication that there's something happening, right? Like that there's some reason for her to be doing what she's doing. So that's a massive upgrade. Not that it's a high bar to clear, but yeah, no, that's way better. Ravenborn, kind of much the same as before. It's really just costuming changes with minimal alterations to the character. Which, like, yeah, I mean, it's Ravenborn. It's always looked pretty good. Not much to say about that. This one, though, is interesting a little bit. Because, like, it's not that there's a lot of change to IG LeBlanc, right? Like, it's very minimal. But they do change the face enough. Like, she has more of a chin, she has more of a jawline. It's weird to say for a character who has this much cleavage, but I feel like this is a little bit more androgynous, somehow. Like, the aspect is a little bit more... a little bit more mask, kind of, a little bit, maybe? Not a lot, though. Like, it's just... there's something about the way they changed the face from this very bright to having just that little bit more cheekbone definition. That little bit more of a jawline. And the slightly smaller eyes that makes it read just a little bit more masked to me. Along with the short hair. It's interesting. Like, the ways we perceive gender in art... and the little tiny changes that can happen to sort of shift something in our brains. Because that's not something that's necessarily objectively in the artwork. That's something to do with, like, how my brain reads gender in character design. And apparently that little change there is enough to make me feel, oh, that's a slightly more masked character. Like, not a lot. Like, there's still the huge fucking titty cleavage right there in front of you, but, like, this... but take away the titties, make her flat-chested? You can have, like, oh, that's like a sort of feminine man, like, wearing this outfit, kind of. It wouldn't take much to change that aspect, I think, which is interesting. That's interesting. Not good or bad, it's just interesting. Let's see. Well, this really is the absolute minimal possible change, isn't it? This is just... well, there's actually one interesting thing happening, which you've probably seen. Like, you can see it when I swap. But it really is just altering the construction of the face to fit the new model with a little bit more of a chin. But also, you see that? You see the haze? Right? You can see how there's this... grayish filter laid over everything, like it's a grayish filter with a little bit of noise applied to it. And that's one of the things like initially I was kind of like, why would they do that? Like, what does that do? But it actually does do something. It helps vignette the picture more. You can kind of see it, right? Like, you can kind of see how here we have all these saturated colors kind of uniformly all over the screen. But here, with this little haze, that's especially, like, the haze gets stronger as you get out towards the edges. That washes out the colors around the edges a little bit more, and it makes this stand out a little bit stronger and draw attention just a little bit better. It's a subtle thing, like, it's not much, but it actually does do something for drawing the viewer's eye towards the main character in the image. It's not big, it's not a huge thing, it's a little subtle change that's actually kind of a solid upgrade. That's kind of cool. Again, absolute minimal viable change. Literally just a tiny alteration to the structure of the face. Nothing really to talk about there. Same thing with the Coven skin, or the Prestige Coven. Really not much to say about that. Yeah, that's LeBlanc for you. Generally, an upgrade. Like, generally, this fits her new lore infinitely better, right? Like, this makes sense in the context of a League of Legends universe that is now supposed to be based on Arcane, right? That's supposed to be based on that very serious, po-faced, like, very, very specific high fantasy, like, serious vibe, rather than the sort of cartoony Smash Brothers nonsense that used to be the basis of the universe. It's definitely an upgrade in terms of that, like, of bringing her into line with what modern League of Legends is supposed to be. Huge upgrade. Still, there are some things, like, where you can see things they've ported over from the old design that I just don't 100% think works. And there are elements of the new design, like, I kind of miss the silliness of old League of Legends sometimes. Like, sometimes I miss when League of Legends was a little bit more camp, a little bit more over the top and cartoony. Sometimes it gets kind of serious and takes itself maybe a little bit too seriously in some aspects, but no, yeah, like, broadly speaking, a huge upgrade. But the fuck that they took away her custom idol animation is like, I'm kind of mad about that. I'm kind of working myself up to be mad about that. That's shitty. That's shitty of you, Riot. That's genuinely kind of shitty of you. Put that back. Like, get one of your animators. They can, like, you have very skilled animators on staff. They can bang that out in, like, a week or so. Like, put that back. Give her a custom animation that makes her look like a big, campy, evil queen of the witches. Make her Maleficent again. Like none of this stoic statuesque bullshit. Make her fucking swish. Make her fucking turn. Make her fucking walk that runway. This is an unacceptable reduction in cuntiness, honestly. Like, this is vastly overwhelmingly superior. This is like the biggest fucking downgrade of this whole thing. That honestly sucks. But anyway, that's a reaction to LeBlanc and the changes and the updates that they made to her. This is not a video essay. It's not a review. It is a reaction. So please react accordingly to that in the comments. Thank you very much. Also, what's it called? It's called crowdmate.com/collections/TBSkyen, who is me. I have new things on the merch store. If you've been following my Bloodborne or Elden Ring playthroughs over on the main channel, I have some t-shirts that has my Bloodborne hunter saying "get good" on them, so that you can tell people to get good in case they need that emotional support. It's also stickers and buttons and things, and a mug that says trans rights, because that's also an important thing to remind people of. So you can have that if you want to have it. And I'd please buy my stuff or I will die. I will not die. I'll be fine. But please consider it with your money. Give it to me, please. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you. I'm kind of tired and I need to go to bed. Bye.